Okay, today before we start reading, you're going to want to take a look at the document that is labeled The Book of Unknown Americans, Making Inferences. So what we're going to do is we're going to read a few pages of Mayor's chapter, and we're going to take a closer look at some of the actions and words of our characters. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice making inferences, which we know are educated guesses based on what you read and what you already know, to make some inferences about our characters and what's going on in the story. So the first couple of ones we'll do together, and then you will be working in your groups to make some more inferences. So if you head over to your book, we're starting on page 12. Mayor. We heard they were from Mexico. Definitely, my mom said, staring at them throughout our front window as they moved in. Look at how short they are. She let the curtain fall back in place and walked to the kitchen, wiping her hands on the dish towel slung over her shoulder. I looked, but all I saw was 3 people moving through the dark, carrying stuff from a pickup truck to Unit 2D. They cut across the headlights of the truck a few times, and I made out their faces, but only long enough to see a mom, a dad, and a girl about my age. So, my dad asked when I joined him and my mom at the dinner table. I couldn't really see anything, I said. Did they have a car? I shook my head. The truck just dropping them off, I think. My dad sawed off a piece of chicken and stuffed it in his mouth. Do they have a lot of things, he asked. It didn't seem like it. Good, my dad said. Maybe they are like us then. We heard from Quisqueya Solis that their last name was Rivera, and they're legal, she reported to my mom over coffee one afternoon. All of them have visas. How do you know, my mom asked. That's what Nelia told me. She heard it from Fito. Apparently the mushroom farm is sponsoring them. Of course, my mom said. I was in the living room eavesdropping, even though I was supposed to be doing my geometry homework. Well, my mom went on, clearing her throat, it will be nice to have another family in the building. They'll be a good addition. Quisqueya took a quick look at me before turning back to my mom and hunching over her coffee mug. Except, she said. And my mom leaned forward. What? Quisqueya said, the girl. She looked at me again. My mom peered over Quisqueya's shoulder. Mayor, are you listening to us? I tried to act surprised. Huh? Me? My mom knew me too well, though. She shook her head at Quisqueya to signal that whatever Quisqueya was going to say, she'd better save it if she didn't want me to hear it. Bueno, we don't need to talk about it then, Quisqueya said. You'll see for yourself eventually, I'm sure. My mom narrowed her eyes, but instead of pressing, she sat back in her chair and said loudly, well, and then, more coffee? Okay, so back in the document, if we take a look at one of the first things we learn in the chapter, we see that the family is debating whether or not the new family in the building, the Riveras, are from Mexico. And Mayor's mom, Celia, says definitely. Look at how short they are. Okay, so what can we say about that statement? What is Celia doing? We've already discussed this. What do we do when we categorize a group of people in a certain way, shape, or form? So let's see what we came up with. So if in the text we read, definitely, my mom said, look at how short they are. And what we know is that some people stereotype or generalize groups of people. We can infer by putting what we know and what we've read together that Celia is generalizing that people from Mexico are short. If we go down further into the page, we can see that Mayor's dad, Rafael, says, good, maybe they are like us then. So let's go back into the text to see what he's referring to at that point in time. So on page 12, we see that Mayor is looking at the Riveras as they're unpacking their things from the truck and going up to their apartment. And if you look down here, Mayor says the truck's just dropping them off, I think. My dad sawed off a piece of chicken and stuffed it in his mouth. Do they have a lot of things, he asked. It didn't seem like it. Good, my dad said. Maybe they are like us then. Okay, so what can we infer is going on with Raphael? Why would he make a comment that says, good, maybe they're like us then? So let's think about that for a second. Why would he be using, maybe let's look at that word good and really think about what might be happening for him to say, good, maybe they are like us then. Okay, so what some of the groups came up with is that we know that people like to be around people they have things in common with, okay? So that could possibly be why Raphael said good. Maybe they're like us then. So what's our inference statement? What can we say here? We can infer what exactly? Okay, so I like that we came up with a couple of different inferences, right? So if this is our educated guess, the possibilities are endless as long as we can support it in our explanation. So one of the inferences we came up with is we can infer that Raphael is open to being friends with the Riveras, okay? And then we also can infer that Mayor's family, Raphael's family as well, doesn't have a lot, because that's what it had said back on page 12 when Raphael had made that statement. Mayor had said, do they have a lot of things? And Mayor concluded that it didn't seem like it, okay? So, great job. Let's continue.